Yo, what's up guys? Today I will show you what you need to do in order to get to flag 40 in Survival Roof Endless in Plants vs Zombies. But before we start, I will link you guys a video made by Scaffold PvZ on how to get the Survival Endless mod shown in this video, in the description below of course. It all starts with creating your save file and picking up kernel pulse as your only starting plant. On the first two flags you will gain around 1700 sun, depending on how fast your game is. For the sake of the video, I will only do the math based around the sun that I gained, which was 1675 sun. This makes us able to use up all of our flower pots for kernel pulse and still have a leftover of 175 sun left. Also keep in mind that this stage right there takes up a lot of butter and zombie RNG, so don't feel bad restarting your run if spamming kernels didn't work out for you. After flag 2, we can see that the game only spawns and screen door shield zombies at us, and even eliminates bucket heads. But don't worry, this will be possible with any zombie, since we'll be using carp cannons on the third and fourth flag now. Here we only gained a total of 1150 sun, since no bucket hits meant that the tempo of our game got increased, which left us less time to collect sun from the sky. Nonetheless, it's more than enough for 2 carp cannons, and we finish up the flag with a leftover of 275 sun. On flags 5 till 6, we are being encountered with some bonies, which really isn't that bad, considering that we are using carp cannons to deal with them. Same as before, we grab our carp cannons as the only available seed slot, so we can start placing them down immediately. Now, what is important to keep in mind is the placement of the carps. Ideally you want your 4 carp cannons to be in any other lane than lane 5, since the first version of the game has a strange glitch with carp cannons being placed on the roof slope, where it won't kill any weak zombies on the bottom carp explosion, so we would want lane 5 to be more protected with your remaining kernel pulse. We made a total of 1275 sun, which is enough for 2 carp cannons, and should leave us with a leftover of around 300 sun after the final wave ends. On flags 7 to 8, we use the opportunity to start planting down our melon pools for potential winter melons. Bungee zombies here are somewhat annoying, but can be simply played around via carp cannons. Other than that, nothing too special happened here. We made a total of 1325 sun, which is more than enough for placing down 3 melon pools, and keeping a leftover of 725 sun. Also, do keep in mind that you shouldn't kill your zombies too fast with carp cannons, since killing them quicker will trigger the next wave to spawn in earlier, which therefore gives us less time to collect sun. From flag 9 to 10, we got our first encounter with Gigantuous as well as balloon zombies, but again, both can be played around if using your carp cannon shots wisely. Use Wintermelon as your only seed slot to make the Gigantuous less of a threat and to prepare for the eventual laddering we are about to do. This was one of the harder early flags, and we also almost lost one of our carp cannons in the back to an imp, but luckily managed to recover from this with some quick reaction. In the aftermath we are left with a leftover of 1200 sun, which means that we did collect 1225 sun this round. On flag 11 till 12 we prepare for our pumpkins by picking up flower pots. Also, having flower pots with us is really good versus regular Gigantuous as well as Gigantuous, since they can be stalled for a very long time in combination with the winter melons. Although we didn't face off any Gogs on this flag. Keep an eye on the pogos if you got them like me, and this should be a fairly easy sun farming stage. I will stop doing the math right now on the sun spending, since from now on the sun won't actually matter, but rather the limitation of only bringing in 1 seed slot. Make sure that you're left with this flower pot structure at the very end. As mentioned before, we use our only seed slot for pumpkin now on flag 13 to 14, and it doesn't really matter if you use them imitated or not. Really, it's just personal preference. If you're lucky like me, you will also encounter ladder zombies right now, which will make the whole laddering process a little bit easier. Be sure to kill ladders close to your carp cannons, since there isn't really any gloom shrooms that protects you as of yet. At the end you should be left with 9 pumpkins. On flags 15 to 16 we start preparing for our eventual gloom shroom in the back, so we pick fume shrooms. Even though we only really need 2 fume shrooms, we will use 6 of them, since like I said before, sun really isn't a factor anymore at this stage of the challenge, so you can be very liberal with your sun spending. On flags 17 till 18, as to no one's surprise, you should bring coffee beans to wake up your sleeping fume shrooms. Other than that, watching out for gogs is important, since the imps can still hurt your carp cannons in the back, with no gloom shrooms available to protect them. Flag 19 till 20 gives us the opportunity to finally plant down our gloom shrooms. If you do encounter Giga Gogs, though, make sure to wait on your gloom shrooms and to bring in flower pots instead for stalling them. In the meantime, try to ladder your pumpkins whenever you can to slowly complete the build. On flag 21 to 22, we pick up regular melon pulls so we can start finishing up the laddering part of our setup. Again, as a side note, use flower pots if you face Gigantuous in this flag instead, since that's the only way really to stall them on roof. Jack-in-the-box explosion zombies are extremely dangerous here too, also shown in the gameplay footage, since lanes 2 and 4 are lacking winter melons to slow them down properly before exploding. Flag 23 to 24 will give you the opportunity to finish off your laddering process if you're luckily provided ladder zombies. Remember that as soon as you upgrade your melon pull into a winter melon, the ladder will disappear, so work with that knowledge. You can see me here upgrading them at the last minute, because I don't want to kill off and freeze my ladder zombies before they reach my melon to ladder them. Flag 25 to 26 featured Gigantuous as well as regular Gigantuous, which is good because we needed to bring in flower pots anyways to start with our carp cannon expansion. It is very important that you end up with at least 4 additional flower pots on 2-6, 2-7, 3-6 and 3-7, so we get 2 more carp cannons for a 3-cycle carp later. On flags 27 to 28, we unsurprisingly bring in kernel pulls to prepare for our carp cannons, and really there isn't really anything too special to say here. Flag 29 to flag 30 is our upgrade time, and now with 7 carp cannons in our disposal, we get a nice and somewhat reliable 3 carp cannon cycle. Since we still have to work around the glitch that was patched by the way in the Game of the Year edition of the game, we need 3 back row carp cannons to fully clear all lanes, and for both remaining cycles, 1 back row as well as 1 front carp cannon. Will do the trick, since the front row carp cannons aren't glitched and will hit all 3 lanes with its explosion, which makes 7 carps perfect for the sequence. Also, remember that we now have to protect our front carp cannons with a timed carp cannon shot from sky ambush zombies. Normally you would use an ice shroom for that, but counting to 4 seconds after the final wave starts spawning in also works. On flag 31 to 32 we encountered bungee zombies, which meant that we are now forced to bring in umbrella leaves in order not to lose our hard-earned ladders in the middle. Maintaining the 3 carp cycle mentioned from before will get us through this round fairly easily. On flags 33 to 34 we can finally start planning our next carp cannon expansion for the full 10 carp cannon setup, so we'll bring in flower pots in order to do so. Remember that you should have at least 6 additional flower pots on the front end at the very end of the final wave, so we can place down our last 3 missing carp cannons. You can also place down flower pots in the bag for extra kernel pulls later on, since we don't really care for our sun production anymore. Flag 35 to 36 we'll be praying that you don't face off Gigantuous, as that would mean that you have to repeat the whole flower pot process again, since the 3 carp cycle wouldn't be able to protect the top kernel pulls from being smashed down. If you're lucky enough, you'll be able to bring in kernel pulls to finish our second last step to building the whole setup. Flag 37 to 38 will be the final round to finishing up our whole build. Place down your final carp cannons and start inspecting your beauty you've just created with no sunflowers and only 1 seed slot. Honestly, this is quite amazing to think that this is possible even if you need insane RNG and good skill to pull this one off. If you told me that this would have been possible 2 years ago, I would have laughed heavily, but here we are now. Huge special thanks to Scaffold PVZ, who not only provided me this very nice Survival Endless mod link, but also the link to the original creator of this challenge. I will leave all 3 links to Scaffold's channel, the original video, as well as the full gameplay footage in the description below. And thank you so much for watching and staying until the very end.